What's going on, people, and welcome back to another video here on my YouTube channel. So Friday just gone, we got blessed with the new Tyler the Creator album, Call Me If You Get Lost. It was a very unexpected album, sort of came from nowhere. He released a single, Lumberjack, and then literally a week later the album is out. Obviously he releases every 2 years, but I think he's one of these artists where you definitely see a real progression throughout his music, and every 2 years you see a difference in the quality, the character, where he's at. You see a lot of different things, and I think he's proved that definitely over the last 3 albums. So yeah, I thought instead of giving my album reaction like I normally do, I'd actually just react to some of your guys' opinions on the album and then share my thoughts as we go along. So yeah, let's get going. So first off, Reese Hudson 98 said, fantastic albums, 0 skips, however very different to previous stuff, which is nice. I'd agree in the sense that it's different to his previous stuff. So I think we can really look at Flowerboy, IGOR, and this one, Call Me If You Get Lost, as like a trilogy of albums. So they're all like very similar themes, very like personal, finding out a lot about himself, and we can really see that again in this album. It's different to what IGOR was, in a sense that IGOR was very old school, that he went for more like soul type beats, not so much rapping. There's a lot more rapping on this. Cherry Bomb was almost like I don't know, it was like a glitzy hip hop album. I say Cherry Bomb, I mean Flower Boy. Very hard to nail down exactly what that album is, and those two almost fit together very similarly. This album had some of the flair of his old albums, plus the like funky element of it that's the same as what IGOR had. I think 0 skips, I'm not sure, let me look at the track list. For me, there's a couple of tracks where I think they fit into the context of the album, but maybe outside of that, I'm not sure how much I would listen to them. I do think that it's such a good listen as one whole album. So if I was to put this out, listen to this album, I'd want to listen to it from the start to the finish, because I think it's a full story, a full album there, really musically works well together. So I really rate that about it. For me, as of yet, there was no tracks that I was like, that's really boring, which for me is a fantastic sign on an album. Dylan 96 said, brilliant album. Don't know if it's as good as Flowerboy or IGOR. Will need to listen again. And yeah, I think I was the same. I think I listened and I was like, God, this is different. For me, there are certain elements to it which I think like the unreal musical ability. Like, I think Tyler has firmly established himself as, probably in hip hop terms, he's by far the best musically, but as an artist in general, his musical ability is unlike anything else at the moment. There's tracks that are experimental. He's really worked out sampling and how to do that perfectly. This was a really interesting and like amazing listen. I don't know, this is hard. I loved IGOR as much as I love this album at the minute as it came out. So I will be interested to see with like the moving on of time, the passing of time, whether I enjoy this album more. Only time will tell though on that one. Welp and Welp said, I think it's a bit of a mess. DJ drama on every track was a bad decision. So this is probably the most controversial part of the album for me. DJ drama obviously has like his ad-libs on most of the beginning of tracks and the end of tracks. I find it funny. Like, I think that Tyler is naturally, he's such a troll. On this album has literally done that as well. He's like trolling us all. If you think about, if these ad-libs were like skit tracks that were in between the actual tracks, I think people wouldn't have a problem in the same way, because you can add the songs to your playlist and not have to listen to that. That is the only frustration with the DJ drama for me. The fact that if I'm gonna add any of these songs to any of my playlists, I know I've got to like suffer that part of it as well, whereas I probably just like the normal tracks. But for me, I don't think you can call this album a mess at all. I think that it's extremely well put together. Generally, the story flowed really nicely. How it sounded flowed really nicely. Yeah, for me, I don't think you can say this is a mess at all. I get why people won't like the DJ drama stuff. I just sort of think it's funny and it's part of the album, so there's nothing you can do about it. So you just have to learn to accept it, move on and enjoy it. Caleb says, it's good, not his best album, top 4 of his best albums. That's interesting because to me, I think that this is easily top 3. I love Flowerboy, I love IGOR, and I think this fits perfectly in the top 3. I think that Cherry Bomb is good, it's just a little rough around the edges. All his projects before Flowerboy were a little bit rough around the edges. This has elements of that. This is what I absolutely love about this album. He's pulled so much inspiration from so many places, but his own work. So he's developed elements of his own work. One thing I massively found with IGOR, and this is the same for this album, back in the days of like Cherry Bomb and Wolf and Goblin, the songs sounded rough around the edges, but you could tell that this was just because he was limited in his resources and maybe like his experience. It wasn't a purposeful, aware decision to make the tracks like that. That is how it ended up. Whereas on IGOR and this album, the songs sound rough around the edges because they're meant to sound like that, and that is it. They consciously meant to sound a little bit gritty, a little bit rough around the edges. That is what I really like about this last couple of albums that he's done. And for me, yeah, I think this is easily in his top 3. For me, it's probably top 2. Possibly could be my favorite album of his because it just pulls so much from the old albums. It's a lot more hip hop based. He raps a lot more, especially in the first half of the album. But then we go on these little journeys throughout the different styles that he's like really honed in on. I disagree with this. I think I agree that it's definitely top 4, but I think it could be his best. Rob Blunt said, not his best work, still great, but still great, shows how good Tyler is. Yeah, you know, I obviously disagree with this. If you believe this, it just shows like this to me is one of his best projects. So if you think this is maybe not his best, it shows how good his other work is. Too Big 2006 saying 10 out of 10 and it's Tyler's best. Yeah, fair enough, I can see why you'd say that. I'm not sure if it's a 10 out of 10 yet. We'll see how time moves on that one. Julius says album of the year. For me, it could be up there. So far, I think my album of the year is Slow Tie. I think this could have taken the top spot, I really do. J Meech 15 says 42 Doug feature was fire. Can't tell if it's better than IGOR. It's so close. Pretty much same as you, mate. I really like this album. Can't 100% tell if it's better than IGOR yet. As for the 42 Doug feature, that brings up a really important point to me. Every feature comes through so well on this, and this is a skill in itself because it happened in IGOR as well. I felt like every feature really benefited the album, but also didn't take away from it. At no point did I think, oh, like Tyler's ability seems worse because of a feature. People like Lil Uzi delivers probably the best feature I think I've ever heard from him. He literally is like rapping like a normal rapper. There's no mumble rapping about his verse. He is rapping like a normal rapper and it is sick, and it's so good on that. It's like quite a heavy beat as well. Different but heavy, really good. Pharrell on the same track, bangs. Lil Wayne, I love Lil Wayne's feature, and that instrumental of that song is like an old salsa type beat with this like beautiful, like I think it's like a flute or something that goes throughout it. It sounds like it is not meant to be rapped on. That beat is not meant to be rapped on, but Wayne and Tyler just flow so nicely. It's like a nice hot day where you can imagine a hot day. You've got the sangria out, you're like just drinking it, it's going down smoothly. This song was exactly the same. It was just a smooth, beautiful compliment. It all complemented each other really well. So yeah, the features on this album is such an important part, and I think it's easy to get features that don't necessarily add anything to the album, or even worse, take away from the album. This does not do that at all. The features just make the album so much better. So as for the best songs, T Vasquez 7 says Lemonhead, Safari, 41 to Dance and Rise. For me, I liked Lemonhead. I liked Lumberjack. I really liked Hot Wind Blows with Lil Wayne. I liked Massa as well. That track was very personal, and I think that it was a bit more stripped back than the first half of the album, and I really rated that sort of break, that like sort of pause in the album. I Thought You Wanted to Dance, I thought was sick. Juggernaut as well was another great song. Safari at the end as well, like That song went on and on and on, but it was consistently good. And what he's talking about is like dating a girl or seeing a girl that's, or boy, who knows, that's got a boyfriend already, trying to convince her to like leave her boyfriend and stuff, but it's not happening, and you end up being the other guy. And yeah, really, really good personal track. I think Igor was so wrapped in the character that you didn't really get, you did, but you didn't get the personal, it didn't feel like him. The personal side of this didn't feel like him talking to you. It felt like he was hiding behind the mask. I'm Igor, this is like this character's feelings. It didn't feel like this is actually my feelings. That is really, really good to see from him, that he's taking like ownership over his own feelings and stuff. I think that brings me to the end of this video. Let me know what you thought of this album in the comments down below. Obviously, I'm a big fan and I'm just looking forward to listening to this again and again and again, and hopefully gaining more and more insight into the layers of this album, because this is a very deep album. I'll probably say maybe the deepest album he's done so far was Flowerboy, because there was a lot of questions around that album. I'd say this album is, in terms of depth, is equal to that, if not deeper. So there's going to be so much more to explore on this album, which is something that makes a great album for me. A lot of people just love surface value albums, and that is totally fine. But I'm someone that loves deep music, that you listen to it first time and you listen to it 20th time and you gain two different insights. That to me is the peak of music. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Make sure you do subscribe if you are new around here. Do music reviews like this one, album reactions, a lot of vinyl videos as well, so make sure you are subscribed to catch all of those videos. Drop a like and I will see you in the next one. Bang.